Here's the first exercise of my back workout today. I used a cable station and a low pulley. I used our kind of medium wide mag grip, and you'll see that in the second half of the video. But the first half here you can see with a wider hand grip for shrugs, it allows me to hit actually the inside of my mid back. So usually on back training and back exercises, the wider the hand placement, the more inside on the edge of the back along the backbone you'll actually target. And then you'll see after this I pair it with a chest supported row. So I'm actually doing kind of a mid-back shrug, which is an isolation movement for just my mid-back. And then I'm pairing that with the row, which allows me to use my biceps and my lats and some other muscles to help push that mid-back further into damage. So doing isolation movements before compound movements is a great way to get further amount of growth. And here you can see the exercise I paired the cable shrugs with. And like I was saying, doing an isolation before a compound allows you to get further amount of growth in that targeted area of the isolation. So since I wanted to target my mid upper back, kind of that dead spot in the upper back where it's hard to kind of develop thickness and detail, by doing the shrugs first, it allowed me to target that area even more. And then typically when I'm doing supersets like this, the first movement is intended to get a pump in the muscle, targeted muscle, and then I do a heavier spaced movement as my second movement. So typically the first movement is an isolation for a higher time under tension range, and that usually equates to more reps. And then I pair that with a heavier movement, compound movement that allows other muscles to help out, and that's typically done for a shorter time under tension for lower reps. This is a great way to mix high rep and low rep training. After the superset of the cable shrugs and chest supported row, both having kind of a wider than normal grip, I moved to a seated cable row with a narrower grip. This allowed me to target the outer lats kind of up under my armpits. So this was a good kind of change of pace from the placement of the first two exercises stimulus, which was mid-back along the spine. So this targeted the outer lats up under the armpits, which equates for really good width. So the first superset was performed for thickness in that mid-back upper area between the shoulder blades, and this was performed for width by targeting the upper outer lats. And this was paired with wide overhand grip lat pull downs, which again is kind of a superset for the lats, and by changing between a higher rep movement into a lower rep movement, it allowed me to get that mix of stimulus. After the and here is the lat pull downs I did. So like I said, the pairing of two movements, I tend to like to put the first one as the pump movement. So again, higher time under tension, higher reps usually, and then you pair that with a heavier lower rep range style movement. And since both of these were for the lats, it ended up getting a really good cramping sensation actually in my lats. So the seated narrow grip worked the upper lat by the armpit, and the wide overhand grip lat pull downs worked more of the mid lat down into the lower portion of the lat. So you can see in this movement I'm allowing my shoulders to lift up at the top, and that actually spreads my shoulder blades. And then the movement for the contraction of the lats is actually pulling my shoulders down to my hips, not pulling through my hands. So you actually want to pull through the lats, which control your shoulder placement. After the back movements, I moved into my first bicep exercise. So this is our preacher curl machine. I'm doing it with one arm at a time. It helps me kind of find a better position for each individual arm. I have an old partial bicep tear in my right arm, so I like doing unilateral movements or movements where the arms can move independent of each other, so I can find the best position for each arm and work around that injury. You can see this is a Strive equipment, that's a company name, and it has the loading peg options to allow me to place stress in different parts of the range of motion. So since my tear is most sensitive when my arm is extended, I actually have the plates organized to overload the contraction, not the extension. This allows me to protect that tear while still maximally stimulating my biceps. So this was a really good way to get them pumped and get them ready for the main bicep movements. And here was the main bicep movements for the workout. So I was actually doing a variation of a drag curl on our Hurricane machine, which is made by Sorinex. So that machine has kind of pivots that you can't see outside of the frame here, but the handles move on a pivoted pathway. So this is actually a really good movement for drag curls, which is a kind of unique, different way of doing biceps. It actually pumps them up into a very shortened position. So then I paired that with dumbbell palm up curls, and this works the bottom half of the curling motion. So the drag curls works the top half, the dumbbells work the bottom half, which after being pumped by the Hurricane machine curls, the bottom half actually stretched open that pump, so it even furthered the muscle damage. So this was a really cool, kind of unique superset to get some good stimulus into the biceps. And to finish off the workout, I did close grip, kind of neutral grip, pull up holds, isometric holds into extended eccentrics, into extended hangs. And what this really worked well for was pulling back open any tight tissues that might have gotten tightened up from the workout. So instead of me kind of just going home and having things tighten up and feel sore, maybe shortened range of motions for the next couple days, this actually pulled open the tissues and allowed me to heal kind of in more stretched out positions. This also helped just kind of annihilate whatever tissues were left in both the back and the biceps that maybe weren't fully exhausted in the exercises. So I did 3 of these where the goal was a 5-second hold, 5-second kind of eccentric, and a 5-second hang. But it was a really good way to open up the tissues and finish off whatever was left.